One more thing. The Golden State Warriors may be desperate enough to make a move, and the Dallas Mavericks can obviously take advantage of it, but I think they need to be cautious. Locked on Mavs. One more thing.
I'm not a doctor, so.
That's it. It's me versus the machine.
I don't know.
Satnam change.
Nice penetrating thrust to the middle.
Hot man, the hot player.
Wait. One more thing.
Fired up.
Yeah, welcome. You're still locked on to the Dallas Mavericks, your team every day. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member covering the Mavs for over 10 years. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check out the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 5 to 6:30 Central Time. It's the One More Thing bonus episode of Locked On Mavs. If you missed the episode with me and Nathan Grubel from No Ceilings, talking about all the draft prospects, there's some fun stuff. And the reason why we want to talk all about the draft is because, man, the Mavs are headed that way. They've got a pick, a first-round pick. No protections on it. Nothing. Feeling good about that one. They're going to get a good player with that pick. But the Mavs also have other players they need to make some moves on or make some moves on before the beginning of next season. And the Golden State Warriors are now in this situation now with Jimmy Butler tearing his ACL. This is basically the same situation as Kyrie last year. I guess Jimmy tearing it a little bit earlier, but Jimmy older than Kyrie. So it's just, first of all, brutal for that fan base, brutal for him. And now the Golden State Warriors are sitting there with Steph Curry, all-star starter, still top 5 player in the NBA, according to several different outlets. Locked On's top 100 had him number 5. And so you look at a player like that and you're like, all right, well, we've got to figure out how to still compete for you, with you, around you. And we've seen organizations desperate in this situation try and figure out some way to make some kind of move to do this. The Warriors were an organization that was desperate at one point. Kevin Durant was going to leave and they're like, all right, we've got to figure out something. And so they just made a trade and all of a sudden D'Angelo Russell, Andrew Wiggins, they make some desperate trades to try and just keep contending, keep churning it. That one ended up working out. The Wiggins, whatever the Wiggins one was in 2022, they won that title. So that one worked out for them. I don't know if this one's going to work out that well for them in this situation. But if you're the Mavericks, you look at this situation, you go, all right, well, let me put 2 and 2 together here. Warriors. We're interested in Anthony Davis before. We're already a desperate team. Desperate to compete, desperate to put a contending team around them, have obvious weaknesses, but they just started to figure out how to play together recently. They won that game that Jimmy Butler went down, and so that was something where you look back and you're like, man, that should have been a really good night for the Warriors, but it ends up being a terrible one. The Warriors are already a desperate team over here. Jimmy Butler then goes down. Boom, now this team is even more desperate. I said this number on Locked On NBA. Game night the other night, but the Warriors offense with Jimmy Butler on the court, 119.6. Awesome. The Warriors offense with Jimmy Butler and Steph off the court, 104.4. Not an NBA team. That's 4th percentile. Awful. Like completely falls off a cliff. So the Warriors will still be okay when Steph Curry plays, but when he's off the floor, which he's going to have to be, like they're just going to completely fall off a cliff and they're going to start to feel this pretty early here, unless, D'Anthony Melton's been pretty good recently. Brandon Majemski had a really good game the other night. And so those guys could step up, but for how long? They're role players. They have not proven themselves to be stars. The other piece of this package, so we have this Warriors desperate team. The other piece of this package is the Warriors were already interested in Anthony Davis. That's where the Jonathan Kuminga whole conversation even came up, because the Mavericks were reportedly interested, we may be interested in a Jonathan Kuminga if he's included in an Anthony Davis package in some way. And so all right, that's another piece of this puzzle. Then the other one is Anthony Davis and Jimmy Butler's contracts are exactly the same, almost to the dollar, and they can be traded for each other. And so you look and you're like, all right, how desperate would you have to get if you're the Dallas Mavericks, and 2, the Golden State Warriors, to try and make some kind of deal to send Anthony Davis to the Warriors and Jimmy Butler to the Mavericks and something else, because the Mavs would have to take that on. Jimmy Butler's not going to play this year. He's not going to play at least half of next year, maybe more than that. I mean, look at where Kyrie is right now. And so how desperate, how much would they have to give you in order for you to make that move? Jimmy's deal is also a little bit shorter than Anthony Davis's. Jimmy Butler's deal is he has a player option he has a guaranteed year 2, $56 million. So next season he's guaranteed $56.8 million. And so essentially that's going to be 34% of your cap, but it's going to be dead money essentially next year, unless he comes back in some way. That's a lot of money. But the Mavericks would get off that Anthony Davis deal a year earlier. Maybe they don't have the deal with the expirings and stuff like that. Maybe, what if it's Anthony Davis for Jimmy Butler and 2 Warriors first-round picks? Maybe they get that desperate, and they're like, hey, Anthony Davis not only fixes our problem of replacing our guy that's not going to play with talent, but also gives us size that we've never had, gives us a post presence we've really never had. I don't know that Anthony Davis fits with the style of play that they play at all. That's something I'm concerned about. Obviously, there's injury concerns with Anthony Davis too, which is why the Mavs are even looking at dealing him. But I think if you're the Mavericks, if you can get 2 first-round picks out of this, you have to do it. Especially Warriors first-round picks. That's like made money. And so I would do it if you get that much, because then you all of a sudden you're giving yourself in your actual window to compete, which is when Cooper Flagg walks into his prime and all that. I'm moved on from the Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis. Well, what if they get healthy? And I see some of you still in the comments saying, well, when healthy, I'm not playing that game anymore with both of them at the same time. I'll play that game with Dereck Lively still. He's 22. I won't play it with the 33-year-old and the 32-year-old. I won't play that anymore. I just don't think that's a viable. That's not a mindset you can have building a team and say, all right, well, if only those guys, I can't play that game anymore. The easiest one is, you get Jimmy Butler and Anthony Davis traded for each other. The numbers match almost exactly. I pulled this up in Fanspo, the trade machine, and it literally doesn't give you either like money going one way or the other because it just works perfectly. If you get a first-round pick, I don't know that 1 first-round pick is enough for me, because you're also taking on the money for next season. So you're taking on the dead money this season. You're taking on the dead money next season. You're losing Anthony Davis now. You're getting 1 first-round pick. Isaac said he would do that. He would do the Jimmy and a Warriors first-round pick for that. I think I would need 2 first-round picks, because you're paying for the talent upgrade because you're going from no player to a player, and also paying for the money next season. And so that to me is where I am with it. The Mavs have got to be cautious with a trade like this, because it doesn't fix your cap problem for next year. The Mavs would still be up against the second apron. They would still have the same issues. They would obviously have less talent, and they'd have less of a chance, because even with Anthony Davis, there still is a chance he is healthy next season. And then you roll that way when the Mavs want to be good. But with Jimmy Butler, there's no chance. You're waiting for him to come back in February, maybe March next season. Or if he comes back January, hopefully he's back to him, close to himself then. And I don't know. And Jimmy Butler, I don't know if that's a player that's going to come off of an ACL well. He's had a meniscus tear. He's had other issues with that same knee. There's a lot of concerns there that I have. And so for that reason, if you give me multiple first-round picks, I would do the Jimmy Butler for Anthony Davis swap. I think those future assets are so invaluable for this franchise that I would stomach the dead money next season, and maybe the chance of Jimmy Butler coming back next season. I mean, we'd have to play that game the whole year, but I would stomach that for the future assets, because I think they're so important, especially Warriors ones where Steph Curry's, I mean, if you get a 2031 or 2031, Steph Curry's going to be like 42 by then. Coming up, there's another trade that I think makes more sense. If you're like, well, there's no way the Warriors would give you 2 first-round picks. All right, well, I'll try to make it more palatable. Another trade that Isaac sent me that I think will be pretty interesting. So let's get into all that and more coming up. Today's episode of Locked On Mavs, the One More Thing, brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook, all kinds of things you can get into the action. If you're listening to this on a Friday or before Friday, it feels different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. All kinds of great things happening all the time on that. Special deals, special bonuses, things that you can go and check out. They have also these special parlays that you can do. So there's one right now. Lakers Nuggets playing tonight. I'm recording this on Tuesday night. Jamal Murray, 5 made threes. Luka Doncic, 4 made threes. Tim Hardaway Jr., 3 made threes. LeBron, 2 made threes. 1,000 people have already placed this bet. It's plus 22.91. So if you bet $10, you win $229 on that. So they have special parlays like that and stuff all the time you can go check out. But check out the NBA Happy Hour. That's every Friday from 5 to 6:30 Central Time. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Also brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems, new you, new trades, new rumors, new all kinds of things. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run a business and we think there's just got to be a better way to do this. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest ways to make an upgrade. And the quickest way is to make a simple upgrade that helps everybody in your business. It's Quo, Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. When your team is reachable, organized, communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. So here's how it works. Your whole team gets calls and texts from one shared number. It works right on your phone or computer, so you can even keep your existing number. It's an app that you could just take with you anywhere, which is absolutely awesome. I need to switch from one device to another, and you can do that with this. They also have these AI smart tools, automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight next steps for you so details never slip through the cracks. Make this the year where no opportunity and no customer slip away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnba. That's QUO.com/lockedonnba. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers.
Shut it down! Let's
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. And one more thing, bonus episode of Locked On Mavs. Go check out the episode with me and Nathan talking about all the draft prospects. Good stuff on there. We'll also have post game for you and all kinds of shows throughout this week. All right, Isaac, let's get into some more. So he sent me this trade, and it's a little more complicated. So I'm going to throw this up on the screen if you're watching this. If you listen to it, I'll try to explain it. Mavericks get Jimmy Butler and Jonathan Kuminga, and they get a Warriors first-round pick. So the Jonathan Kuminga saga ends for the Warriors. It starts for the Mavericks. The thing about Kuminga that's interesting is, one, he's still young. He's like 23, making $22 million this year, and he has a team option $24 million next season. So you get to figure out what you get with Jonathan Kuminga the rest of the season. There's going to be a lot of minutes to go around for him, and so you play him a bunch, see how he works with Flagg, see how he works with Kyrie even. And then he has a team option next year. So if you want to cut bait, you can. And then that solves your salary cap issue for next season. Boom, done. One move, got it. Clearing $22 million does a lot for you. Because right now the Mavericks are like, they're $9 million up against the cap, or the Mavericks are like $4 million right below the second apron. And they haven't signed their first round pick yet, haven't signed Nembhard back yet, haven't signed Brandon Williams back. So I think $24 million is enough to make all that stuff work. And so I think that makes sense. The Mavs also get a first round pick from the Warriors, which is, again, super valuable. That's what you want. So you get two things in this, I think. You get a valuable first round pick, and you also get the cleared cap space, so you don't have to trade a bunch of other guys too. But then here's the thing. So the Mavs get Jimmy Butler, Kuminga in the first round pick. The Warriors get Anthony Davis, Benedict Mathurin from the Pacers, and they get Naji Marshall. So Naji Marshall's in this deal as well. So the Warriors getting a lot of talent there. Benedict Mathurin, Naji Marshall, both like, shot creators, shot makers. Naji to get a defender. Anthony Davis, you get a big defensive presence, anchor, all that. And then Daniel Gafford, maybe a couple seconds, go to the Pacers. This deal, Isaac said he would do it. Isaac said you get, Jimmy Butler coming back next year, middle of a contract year. The Mavs can keep him to win now next season, or they can trade him as an expiring next season, which is kind of interesting. I don't know that Jimmy Butler will have a lot of value as a $56 million expiring coming off of an ACL injury. But he said he would do it. You take a flyer on Kuminga, Golden State Warriors first. He said it's money. He would do the one where it was Jimmy for AD and just one first, because he thinks those Warriors picks are that good. He said the Warriors do it now to win now with Steph, swap Jimmy for AD, add Naji and Mathurin for wings and defense. Pacers get a couple seconds to swap Gafford and Mathurin when they probably won't pay Mathurin this summer. That's probably true. But to me, I think you got to get a little bit more. Especially if I wouldn't do the deal with AD and Jimmy for one first. I wouldn't do the Kuminga and one first for Jimmy Butler for AD plus Naji plus Gafford. If you're going to trade AD, Naji, and Gafford, I think I got to get two firsts out of it in some way in the aggregate, right? The thing I did in the show the other day to help the Mavericks move forward is I think you got to get two firsts somehow out of Clay, Naji, Gafford, D'Angelo Russell, like whatever the Mavericks are going to trade right now. And then Anthony Davis. I think you got to get two firsts out of that whole thing. Because you're giving up a lot of your depth. Especially if you're going to cut bait with Jonathan Kuminga. You basically gave up three players in your rotation for Jimmy Butler, who's going to be out, and for one first. Especially if the seconds are coming from the Mavericks in some way. Like I don't know that I'm for that one. I think it is giving up too much, which is again why I started the show saying the Mavs have to be careful about this, because you could all of a sudden get in this and be like, oh, the Warriors are desperate. Oh, and you can get so beholden to that one first round pick that maybe it's not. Maybe it's like in the 20s. But if you get two picks, the odds that one of them is going to be really good to me is so much better. And so that's where I think you land with this. obviously easier said than done, but I think the Mavericks need to be cautious with this deal. I think they can do something with Jimmy Butler, Anthony Davis, swapping some first round picks. The Warriors have a bunch of picks, by the way. You don't think about teams like the Warriors having a bunch of picks. You're like, oh, they probably don't have a ton of their picks. They have their 2026 first, which is not going to be that good, right? The Warriors are right in the middle of the playoff race. They have their 2027, 2028, 2029. You can only trade 2 of those. Right now, I think you could trade either 2027 or 26 and 28. They have their one in 2030, but it's top 20 protected. That's kind of crazy. And then they have a 2032 they could trade. So what? If they wanted to go all in and trade some first, they could do 26, 28, and 32. I think they could do. So the Warriors are thinking they can make some kind of move. So they get real desperate and some of those picks come off the board. 2032 is nuts because that one, 6 years from now, Steph is going to be 43. I don't think he's playing anymore. And I definitely don't think he's an all-star starter anymore. So that's my thoughts on the Jonathan Kuminga trade. Let me know what you think, or Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, Anthony Davis, all that. Let me know what you think about it. We'll have more post-game shows coming up throughout this week as the Mavs play. Luka Doncic coming into town this weekend. That'll be a fun one. So subscribe here, wherever you're listening, watching this. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked on Mavs.
Peace out.